let's spend a few moments talking about the evaluation classes and what those mean to the system. From the system's perspective, the evaluation class governs how we value an item in stock in our financial reporting. In other words, as we receive items or as we produce items and they're in inventory, we have quantities of them, how is the value represented in this case on our balance sheet, and that's controlled by the evaluation class. So each item is a member of an evaluation class that governs that. Let's look a little bit at how those evaluation classes are set up. I can create as many as I would like. In this case, the system comes with 5 built in the sample company that comes with your product, and again I can configure those here. So I'm going to choose this customer stock, and you'll notice that when I did that, let's look at several things. One is the costing method and the evaluation category, and I'm going to edit these. The costing method is my way of establishing how items that are members of this class are costed. So if I've got an item in the customer stock evaluation class, by setting first in, first out, what I'm saying is that those items are managed through FIFO. It isn't like the inventory has one global setting. Each item could be in its own. And here are the four of the forms of costing method the system supports. There's a lot of more actually that could control this, but whether it's average, FIFO, LIFO, or standard. Now, other forms of costing may be serialization or batching and things like that. But this is if I want the evaluation class to control the costing method, I can do that here. The evaluation category is my way of saying how this item is valued based on certain elements beyond just what we paid for it or how it comes in or out the door when that happens. For example, it could be based on batch purity. If we're actually manufacturing this item, the empirical quality of how this batch came out may be better. Sometimes just the precision of a manufacturing process will vary, and there's just some elements of that are just unknown, and it just depends. So some batches may come out better than others. And for those good batches, a good example is Intel processors. Some processors cost a little more because they're all made the same way, but when they test the speed of those processors, some are just faster than others, and the faster ones they charge more for. So depending on the quality or the batch purity or how they came out, that may affect how that's valued on the balance sheet. It can also be based on where we received it from. Maybe it's a geographical area where items from that area are less valuable than items from this area, or how we bought it, or the quality, or other factors. But the evaluation category controls that side of the evaluation class. Now, as I'm setting up an evaluation class, for each class I can set up the different ways that class works for my different locations. In this sample company we have 4 locations, Hong Kong, Seattle, San Diego, and London, and I can say that for each of those locations how we want to deal with that. Process receipts means that as items are coming in, do we want to post entries to the general ledger based on that? Typically you would not do that, but you can do that, and the system creates some clearing accounts for that purpose. So every time an item comes in through a purchase order, I can post entries to my GL to momentarily value those items on the balance sheet based on the purchase order price. So if I received 5 widgets at $10 each, that's $50 worth of inventory, presumably that I've received in. I can temporarily make an entry, a $50 debit to the inventory clearing account, but then also a $50 debit to the goods receipt clearing GL, which is typically a liability account, to say that it's only a tentative transaction. Now when the voucher comes in for those 50 items, that number is going to take precedence. That becomes the actual value. There may be some landed costs associated with that. So typically I would not process receipts, but I can do that if I want to implement that circle. And once I verify that the voucher is in, I can have that information automatically backed out. I can also control the cost of goods in the inventory general ledger account for the releases. Obviously when I'm releasing items, I certainly do want to credit my inventory and debit a cost of goods account typically. So here's where I can make those associations. And again, more typically this process release will be set to true, but you can do that. So under this evaluation class, for each of the locations that I have, I can deal with those attributes independently. So that gives you a little bit of information about how to configure evaluation classes in the system.